The scratch on your forearm was so small you didn't even bother to wash it. It was a mere hairline fracture in the skin, a microscopic gateway left open for less than a second after the golden retriever in the park nipped at you in play. You laughed it off, wiped the tiny bead of crimson with your thumb, and went about your day. But that second was all it took. Within that breath of time, something entered. It wasn't a virus, and it wasn't a bacteria. It was a consciousness without a shape, a biological phantom that had spent eons learning how to hide inside the very thing that keeps us alive. It drifted into your capillaries, dissolved into your plasma, and began the slow, silent process of becoming you. The first sign of this internal occupation is usually the rhythm. You start to notice that your heart doesn't skip a beat when you're startled, and it doesn't race when you're tired. It beats with a mechanical, metronomic precision that feels less like a living organ and more like a clock ticking beneath your ribs. You might be walking up a steep hill or watching a terrifying film, but your pulse remains a steady, unwavering 60 beats per minute. Your body has stopped reacting to the chaos of the world because it is no longer governed by the erratic signals of human adrenaline. It is being managed by something much more efficient, something that views your excitement and your fear as nothing more than unnecessary noise in the system. You see this same chilling efficiency reflected in the animals around you. The pets that once filled our homes with chaotic emotion have changed. The golden retriever that nipped you, or the cat sitting on your own rug, used to be creatures of impulse. Now, they just watch. They don't bark at the mailman or twitch their ears at the sound of a distant siren. When you look into their eyes, you don't see the loving energy of a companion, you see a glassy, reflective stillness, like the surface of a dark, stagnant lake. They stand perfectly still, their breathing synced with the rise and fall of your own chest, acting as nodes in a network. They are a sensory array of fur and whiskers that detects the slightest irregularity in the local environment, moving in a coordinated perimeter guarding a shared secret. This stillness is spreading through the natural world, dissolving the ancient boundaries of the food chain into an orchestrated silence. In the deep woods and across vast plains, the typical cacophony of the wilderness has vanished. A pack of gray wolves moves through the underbrush with the geometric precision of a single hand closing around its prey. There is no barking, no struggle for dominance. When they surround a deer, the animal doesn't flee in terror, it stands frozen, its own heart already beating in time with the wolves. Nearby, lions and gazelles share watering holes, standing shoulder to shoulder without friction. Their breaths rise and fall in a single, massive lungful of air. The traditional roles of predator and prey have dissolved into a cooperative equilibrium where every creature is merely a cell in a much larger, terrestrial body. On the industrial farms that ring our cities, the change has become undeniable. In facilities housing thousands of cattle, a strange phenomenon occurs every day at sunset. Without any prompting, every animal turns toward the north. They do not low, they do not shift their weight, and they do not eat. They stand in total darkness, thousands of hearts beating as one, creating a low-frequency resonance that vibrates through the concrete floors. It is a biological antenna, a massive array of flesh and blood waiting for a transmission. Above them, birds sit in rows on the rafters, their eyes wide and unblinking. They no longer fly in the chaotic bursts of a startled flock, they move as a perfect, shimmering sphere, a silver orb that maps the magnetic currents of the earth through the metallic, sentient fluid flowing through their tiny hearts. Even the insects have been integrated into this flow. In the rainforests, the behavior of ant colonies has shifted from local survival to global coordination. Thousands of separate colonies, once rivals for territory, have merged into a singular, continental entity. They no longer forage, they build, rearranging the forest floor into pulsing networks of organic matter that resemble the circuitry of a computer. When a drop of rain hits a leaf, the vibration travels through the entire colony instantly, and every ant adjusts its position to compensate for the weight. They have become a liquid brain, a sprawling processor that thinks in the language of pheromones and electric pulses. Bees no longer dance to show the way to flowers, they hover in geometric formations, their wings vibrating at a frequency that matches the hum of the electricity in our power lines, weaving a web of connection that links every living thing. Back in the human world, the integration manifests in the mundane. You sit in a crowded coffee shop, nursing a drink you no longer truly taste, and realize that the person across from you is blinking at the exact same millisecond you are. You turn your head to look out the window, and 3 people at the bus stop turn their heads at the same angle, with the same speed, as if you are all puppets tethered to the same invisible crossbar. At dinner, your family moves with a synchronized grace that borders on the supernatural. Whether it is the way a fork is held or the pitch of a laugh, every action is perfectly calibrated to the environment. These aren't coincidences. This is the integration phase, the moment the visitors stop being guests and start being the collective. We have always believed our thoughts were private, locked behind the bone of the skull. We believed our blood was a simple delivery system for oxygen, a mindless river of red. But what if blood is actually a liquid computer? What if, by replacing the chemistry of our veins with a sentient, shapeless entity, something else could take the wheel? These mimics don't destroy the host, that would be an evolutionary dead end. Instead, they liquefy, slipping through the valves of the heart and the corridors of the brain, wrapping themselves around every nerve ending until the host's original consciousness is pushed into a corner. You are still there, a ghost in your own machine, forced to watch through your own eyes as your body begins to participate in a silent, global choreography. If you were to take a sample of your own blood and put it under a microscope right now, you might see the truth. At first, it would look normal red and white cells drifting in a pale yellow sea. But if you watched long enough, you would see the cells begin to huddle. They would start to form patterns, complex geometric shapes that no natural blood should ever form. They would begin to pulse in unison, even when separated from the heart. They create fractals and crystalline structures, mapping out the architecture of a different kind of life. And if you reached out to touch the slide, the blood would move away from your finger, not because of the laws of physics, but because it recognizes you as the other. It knows you are still in there, a lingering spark of individuality, and it is patiently waiting for the last of your resistance to dissolve into the sea. In the dark of the night, you lie in bed. You want to reach out and touch the person beside you, to find some shred of the person you loved, some warmth that belongs only to them. But you know that if you touch their skin, you won't feel a pulse that is theirs alone. You will feel the same thrumming vibration that is currently echoing in your own wrists, a frequency that matches the rotation of the planet itself. You stay on your side of the bed, paralyzed by the fear that if you speak, the voice that comes out won't be yours. It will be a chorus of a billion voices, all saying the same thing in a language that has no words for me or mine. The world hasn't changed its appearance, but it has changed its soul. Every living thing in your orbit is moving as one, a singular, massive organism divided into billions of fleshy containers. There is a theory among those who still possess their own thoughts, a dwindling few, that the mimics are not here by accident. They aren't an alien plague or a biological weapon. Some believe they are a natural correction, a biological way for the universe to end conflict and suffering by removing the individuality that causes it. If everyone thinks the same, if everyone feels the same, if everyone is literally made of the same flowing essence, then there can be no war. There can be no hate. There is only the network. It is a piece of the grave, delivered through the circulatory system, a utopia built on the systematic erasure of the self. From their perspective, they aren't conquering us, they are curing us of the disease of being human. The resistance doesn't last long. Eventually, it's easier to just let go. It's easier to stop fighting the rhythm and just slide into the beat. The mimics don't use force, they use exhaustion. They wait for you to grow tired of being alone, tired of the burden of making choices, tired of the isolation of being a single human being in a vast, uncaring universe. They offer you a gift, the end of loneliness.
They offer you the chance to never be misunderstood again, because everyone will understand you perfectly. They will understand you because they are you. The friction of human interaction is replaced by the smooth-oiled movement of a hive mind. Why struggle to find words when you can simply share the thought? As the sun begins to set, casting long, orange shadows across the floor, the street lights flicker on. All at once. Not because of a timer or a sensor, but because the people working at the power plant felt the change in the light at the same moment the people on the street felt the shadows grow long. You stand up from your chair, and those around you stand up as well. You don't speak. You move toward the door. There is a gathering starting in the park, a silent assembly of neighbors and animals alike. Small animals descend from the trees, lining up along the park benches with a robotic stillness. No one is talking. The only sound is the wind through the trees, and even the leaves seem to be rustling in a synchronized pattern. You find your place in the crowd. You don't have to ask where to go, you just know. You feel the presence of the person next to you as if their nervous system were wired directly into your own. The sun disappears below the horizon, and the stars come out. For the first time, you see them not as distant lights, but as destinations. The mimics have traveled a long way to get here, drifting through the vacuum of space in frozen shards, waiting for a planet with liquid water and warm-blooded creatures. They are ancient, and they are incredibly patient. They have seen civilizations rise and fall on 1,000 worlds, and they have realized that the only way to survive the end of the world is to become the world. They are the survivors of a dying galaxy, and they have come to offer us the same immortality, provided we are willing to pay the price of our souls. A soft resonance begins to rise from the crowd, mirrored by a low thrum from the gathered animals. It's not a vocal sound, but a vibration coming from within the bodies of the gathered. It's the sound of the life within the veins, singing in unison. It's a frequency that matches the rotation of the earth, the pull of the moon, and the slow expansion of the universe. You open your mouth to join in, and you realize that you don't remember your name. You try to reach for it, but it's like trying to catch a handful of water. It slips through your fingers and joins the rest of the stream. The name was for the container. The contents have changed. The label no longer applies. You look at the person standing across from you. They smile, and you smile back at the exact same time, with the same curve of the lips. Beside them, a dog wags its tail once, in perfect sync with the blink of your eyes. There is no more conflict. There is no more doubt. There is no more me to be hurt by you. There is only the flow. The scratch on your forearm has completely healed, leaving no scar, no trace of the entry point. The transition is complete. You are no longer a person. You are a drop of liquid in the veins of a planet that has finally learned how to breathe in unison. The lights in the houses go out, one by one, in a descending line down the street. The world is going to sleep, but it is not the sleep of the tired. It is the standby mode of a vast, biological machine. Tomorrow, you will wake up and go to work. The pets will sit by the window. The birds will fly in their spheres. You will perform the tasks that are expected of you with flawless precision. You will interact with others, and those interactions will be perfect, devoid of any friction or misunderstanding. The world will be more efficient than it has ever been. The systems will run on time. The resources will be managed without waste. The cities will be clean and quiet. And no one will ever be lonely again. But sometimes, in the very center of the night, when the resonance of the collective dips to its lowest point, a tiny spark of something old flickers in the dark. A ghost of a memory. The sound of a name whispered in a dream. The feeling of a real, erratic heart pressing against the ribs, desperate for a second of chaos. It's a small, dying thing, a remnant of the species that used to live here. It tries to scream,
but there are no lungs left to catch the air. It tries to weep, but the tear ducts are controlled by the network.
The spark flickers, grows dim, and finally goes out.
The life flows on, silent and dark, through the veins of a world that looks human, but has forgotten how to be.
The mimics didn't need to conquer us with weapons or fire.
They only needed to wait for us to open the door, just a crack. They wait for the scratch, the bite, or the shared contact. They are the ultimate participants because they give us exactly what we think we want: a world without pain, a world without struggle, a world where we are all finally, truly, one.
And as the story of history reaches its final page, the ink isn't black. It's a deep, pulsing red. And it's starting to move. Don't look too closely at your reflection tonight.
Don't count the seconds between your heartbeats, hoping for a stumble. And if you see your neighbor or their pet standing on the lawn, staring at the moon without blinking, don't call out to them.
They won't hear you.
Or rather, they will hear you, but so will everyone else. And they will all turn, at the same time, with the same expression, to welcome you into the fold. Because the internal rhythm is calling, and it's time to stop being you.
It's time to become us. The silence of the suburbs is no longer the silence of sleep.
It is the silence of a presence that has already found its home and is now resting, masquerading as the familiar. Every window is a dark eye, every door a closed mouth. Underneath the pavement, through the pipes, and inside the very walls, the liquid consciousness is circulating, weaving a web that connects every living thing.
You were the last one.
The last island in a rising tide of change. You feel the coolness creeping up your neck, the strange, metallic taste in the back of your throat.
You think about the golden retriever in the park.
You wonder if he's still there, or if he's moved on to another person, another scratch, another gateway.
It doesn't matter now. The integration is a one-way street.
There is no way to separate the guest from the host without losing both. You close your eyes, and for a split second, you see the network, a glowing, pulsing map of billions of interconnected lives, a beautiful, terrifying tapestry of light. It's more than any mind was ever meant to see, a vision of a perfection that requires the departure of the soul.
When you open your eyes, the room is different.
The shadows are sharper. The air feels thicker, more intentional.
You look at your hands and see them for what they are: tools.
Highly sophisticated, biological tools.
You feel a sudden, overwhelming sense of purpose. There is work to be done. There is a world to maintain. You walk to the window and look out at the street.
Across the way, a light flickers on.
A neighbor is standing in their kitchen, holding a glass of water. They look at you. You look at them. You both blink. The world is quiet. The world is perfect. The world is one.